In today's video, we're going to make a really simple roasted tomato and red onion soup. This is a really easy recipe. You can put this together in no time at all. Most of the cooking is done in the oven and it freezes like a dream. Now, of course, there are lots of things you could add to this in terms of toppings, things like cheese and cream. I don't eat those things, but vegan cream as well, or perhaps some herbs or some herb oil. But I would recommend putting all of those on when you actually serve the soup. They're not things that go well in the freezer. And on this channel, I'm all about stocking up that freezer so we don't have to cook every night. Don't know about you, but I'm too busy. So let's get on and learn how to make this delicious recipe. So let's look at our ingredients, and they're really very simple. Now, here in the UK, we get packs of vine ripened tomatoes, and you generally get, 4 or 5, depending on weight, in a pack. For each one of these packs, we're going to have 1 red onion. Of course, you could use a white onion, but I think it gives better colour and a better flavour to have the red ones. We'll also need some garlic. I would say about 3 or 4 cloves for every pack of these and 1 onion. When you see the actual pictures of this cooking, you'll notice I've got a lot more than this because I'm making 3 times the amount, but I'll put both 1 times and 3 times the amount in the video description in case you want to make extra like me for the freezer. Now, the main part of the cooking for this recipe is going to be done in the oven, so I've got a very large glass dish here. We're going to start, I've cleaned these tomatoes obviously, and we're going to start just by chopping them into large quarters. I do tend to just avoid this little bit here. We're going to liquidize this soup later on, so it really doesn't matter, they don't have to look neat, but I do just take this little bit out. There's a tendency for it to get missed by the little blades, and it can be a bit bitter, so we'll get rid of that, and we're just chucking those into the glass dish, and I'll prepare all of them the same, popping them into my roasting dish. Next, I'm going to add some garlic, and these are really very large cloves I've got here. I actually managed to get to there's a Chinese grocer in a town a little distance from me, and honestly, so much nicer and so much cheaper than the supermarket stuff. So I like to just crush these in order to get the skins off. See, I say they're nice, and then I've got a little bit of brown stuff there, but the rest is fine. The other thing you can do is you can actually cut along the curved edge if you want to, and that will also just loosen the skins like this. I don't have a garlic press. Honestly, I've got through so many garlic presses and I really don't feel they're worth the bother. They're an absolute nuisance to clean. I always break them because I don't know my own strength. And honestly, I would rather just chop by hand and perhaps crush a little to get the flavour. So this is ready to add to my roasting dish as well. Now, even when you're going to liquidize a recipe, you always want to chop your garlic. I just find that those little cloves of garlic, they're so good at avoiding blades. So I do always chop, although you can see I haven't worried about being too neat with it. And we're adding that to our roasting dish. Finally, we're going to prepare the onion. And again, we don't need to be too neat with this. We just need to chop it small enough that it will get cooked. And it's a good job you can't see my face at the moment because this onion is really strong, and most of my mascara is now on my face. And we're going to add this to the roasting dish. Now, to help all of this cook, we're going to add about 1.5 teaspoons of olive oil. Mix that in well. Of course, you can use your hands too to coat the pieces properly. Going to pop it in a preheated oven, about 200 degrees centigrade. If you're using gas, I'll put the conversion in the video description. And we're going to roast this for about 20 to 25 minutes until it's all nicely cooked. So here's our roasted vegetable mix. Now, this is pretty much cooked. We don't have to do much else to it. Now, I'm going to tip it into a saucepan simply because that will enable me to blend it with some stock, liquidize everything, and also adjust the seasoning, add some salt and pepper. So what you're going to do for each 1 portion, and this is more than a portion here, I'm making a big batch, I've got a couple of these dishes. For each 1 portion, you're going to add 3/4 of a pint of vegetable stock. Now, you can either pour the stock straight in here and tip the lot in a saucepan, or you can tip this in first, but do make sure that the stock goes into this roasting dish at some point before it's added to your saucepan. This is just going to get all the little bits of garlic and all of those nice juices into your soup. Do be careful because when it's just come out of the oven, even pouring boiling water into it can make it splatter. So give it a few minutes to cool down a little bit before you do this stage. You can stick this lot in the saucepan. All you have to do then is liquidize it. I like to use a stick blender. If you're using a blender that's not a stick blender, you probably want to let this get completely cool first, because all sorts of bad things can happen if you put hot food in a blender and put a lid on it. Ask me and my kitchen wars how I know this. Once we've blended all of this together, warm it through, taste it, pop plenty of salt and pepper in until you're happy, and then you can just eat it straight away or allow it to cool. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, this is nice, Michelle, but I'd like to add some basil, I'd like to add some cream. So what I'd say about that is, first of all, this soup is delicious. Though it's very simple, it's full of flavour, so you may not need anything. But if you do want to add some basil or some cream, whether that's something that I might eat, like a vegan cream or a dairy cream, I suggest you just swirl that in as you serve the soup. Things that are cream-based, and it doesn't seem to matter if they're dairy or non-dairy, things that are cream-based tend to split in the freezer, and so you're much better to add those things later on. And although you could add basil during this next part of the cooking process, basil also is much nicer fresh. This soup freezes absolutely beautiful, and I'll be popping lots of this in my freezer so that when I get home late at night from a yoga class or something similar, I've got some lovely hot, nutritious food. I'll put all of the quantities and the cooking instructions in the description of the video. So I hope you enjoyed this very easy recipe and give it a go. Don't forget to free subscribe. Everything on this channel, of course, is fully approved by cats. And don't forget to stay kind to yourself, stay kind to other people, and most of all, stay kind to the animals.